got an odd one for you today. So news broke this week that there's an AI actress, Tilly Norwood, that is about to be signed to a talent agency, or is in talks to be signed. And what a world we live in, right? My immediate reaction is, why would an AI entity need to be signed to an agent? I mean, that doesn't even make sense. Wouldn't you just license the technology that created that character? You would license the character directly through the corporation that created the character. Now I kind of feel like if agents are going to go down this route, it's simply going to make agents obsolete. So needless to say, there's a lot to unpack here, much more territory than I could cover in a single video, but I want to just get my initial thoughts out on this and kind of talk about where we see SAG-AFTRA going in the future, as well as the film industry as a whole, as well as just AI advancement as a whole. First up, who is Tilly Norwood? That's already a dangerous question. See, it's what is Tilly Norwood, okay? Well, guess what? She already has her own Wikipedia page. So Tilly Norwood is an AI-generated character created by the production company Particle 6 from Aline van der Veltzen. At the Zurich Film Festival, she said she intended Norwood to be the next Scarlett Johansson or Natalie Portman. So this company from Aline van der Veltzen has already been creating these AI avatars, working with brands to produce commercials using AI, using things like de-aging. That's all going to be part of the services that they offer. And this new AI talent studio, she's named Sequoia, is a division of Particle 6. And that's where you're going to start having these AI talent come from. Tilly Norwood being the first of these AI entities. I'm laughing out of fear, it's not funny. Okay, but this brings me back to, if Sequoia is developing AI avatars, are those not simply intellectual property? Those are creations that could be licensed out for different productions. Why would that entity need to go through the traditional Hollywood system of having an agent and be earning commissions, because the money is obviously not going to the AI entity, it's going to the company Sequoia? It's a very interesting concept of why would a talent agent sign an AI? Okay, so for me, like I said, this doesn't make any sense. I think this headline has been used much more as a publicity stunt, because now we're talking about Tilly Norwood, now we're talking about Particle 6, now we're talking about Aline van der Veltzen and her creations. So I do think this had more to do with getting her name out there and her product out there, rather than that agencies are actually interested. In fact, from what I've seen, there's been a lot of pushback. Hollywood actors, of course, are weighing in, but also I've now seen agencies say they would never let this happen. So I think it will be interesting if this was all kind of a hoax, or, just like I said, more of a publicity stunt. Even SAG-AFTRA has come out now saying, you can't call this an AI actress. There was specific language that was put into the contracts. If you recall, in 2023, both the writers and the actors of SAG-AFTRA went on strike, and a lot of this had to do with, of course, many different things during contract negotiations, but AI protections were a big piece of the puzzle. And I was one of these SAG-AFTRA members who didn't think we got enough AI protections. I understand that there's only so much you can do in a contract negotiation, but I do feel like that was a pivotal moment in not just film history, but history itself. This is really set the precedent for what will be available through these AI technologies and what will be permissible and legal. And I want to talk about that more, but let me get back to SAG-AFTRA for a second. They have specific language in the contract where they designate AI characters are synthetic performers. So What is the difference between a synthetic performer or synthetic fake and a digital replica? So we have a synthetic performer or synthetic fake must be wholly synthetic and not based on an actual performer. If the digitally created character is voiced by a live performer, it is not a synthetic performer. If the digitally created character is created to resemble an actual performer, it is a digital replica. So when can synthetic performers be used by companies in place of a performer? When a company wants to use a synthetic performer, they will have to provide notice to the union and an opportunity to bargain. They also must get consent and bargain with performers to create an asset with a principal feature that is recognizable as that of a specific performer, i.e. eyes, nose, ears, and or mouth, created through the use of that performer's name and facial feature in the prompt to a generative AI system. Who will get paid if the union grants consent for use of synthetic fake performers? We are not aware of any widespread plan to use that at this point. This was from April 2024. But staff will work with the standing committee to develop a response to any such notice, including what compensation we believe to be appropriate. I've always struggled with the language that you need to be able to recognize specific features in order to make a claim that your face was used to create an AI character, because it's using so many different data sets that you're never going to be able to prove that that's your mouth or that's your eyes unless it's, not this kind of character. And it's like, give me Scarlett Johansson, but with this color hair, that kind of thing, which also just goes to show that these AI protections that SAG-AFTRA was able to get are only helpful for celebrities and known actors. That's always been my feelings on the matter. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into this, and I understand that only so much can be done, and they tried to kind of get their foot in the door so that this next time for contract negotiations they would have more leverage. I kind of think it's too little too late, and the floodgates of AI have already been opened. They're already being well integrated into the Hollywood system. So we've seen a rise in AI in a lot of different productions. This last awards season, there were some big Academy Award contenders that for Best Picture that were kind of came under fire for use of AI. So you had Emilia Perez used AI to enhance the singing performances, kind of reach higher notes. You had The Brutalist used AI to to make a more authentic sounding Hungarian accent for the lead actors, as well as using it to generate architectural designs that were featured in the film. I was hoping that would open up a dialogue more about what could we then consider an Academy Award winning performance from an actor if their performances themselves are being enhanced. How directly does that relate to performances that have already been enhanced from CGI and that kind of thing? And is AI just another tool? Or if we're saying, no, your Hungarian accent isn't authentic, does that degrade the power of the performance? I know the Academy right now is in talks for what kind of restrictions around AI need to be in place. I'd really love to hear your thoughts on that and what you think should be considered award worthy. But just the fact that AI was used in those films and that they were up for consideration for major awards like Best Picture at the Academy Awards, that goes to show you that AI has already been adopted, it's already mainstream, and it's already in what would be considered prestige cinema. I myself have kind of wondered about the future of AI, knowing that as a filmmaker with very limited resources, that AI could really be used as a wonderful tool to give me things that I wouldn't have without a bigger budget. In terms of visual effects, locations, all kinds of things. So it does make sense that someone would say, well, actors would be another logical step. For me, the ethical consideration with AI has always been how the AI model itself was trained. And when you're looking at the synthetic performer of Tilly Norwood, you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of actresses who didn't give consent and weren't compensated for their faces being used to train a model that created this character. I mentioned that there's been a lot of backlash in Hollywood already from actors saying, read the room, or whichever agent would sign something like this, all the other actors that are represented by that agency need to drop them immediately. Actress Mara Wilson said, "And what about the hundreds of living young women whose faces were composited together to make her? You couldn't hire any of them." And that really, I think, is where this conversation is going to be headed, is humans versus AI. We see in a lot of industries that there are concerns of AI taking over jobs. Hollywood is definitely a part of that conversation. I think it's been interesting and scary to see how fast this has all been happening. I wish you would see court rulings happen faster. It does seem like the companies that created these AI models knew what they were doing was illegal, and pirating material in order to train their models was illegal. But the legal system has been so slow to catch up to it. Their technology is growing at an exponential rate, and the legal system is so far behind that it almost doesn't matter at this point. That's kind of how I feel. I hate to be so cynical about it. And there are a number of cases against AI right now. You've got a huge lawsuit where Disney and Universal are teaming up with some other studios to sue Midjourney. Midjourney has been accepting prompts for their copyrighted characters and spitting out generative AI images that have like Darth Vader, very recognizable big IP for these studios, have been, of course, not only used to train these models, but they're also being used to produce images. So there's a huge lawsuit going on with that. But even rulings that I have seen haven't necessarily been favorable towards artists. There's one from a case involving Anthropic, which is the company behind Claude AI. So in this court case, a federal judge has sided with Anthropic in a major copyright ruling declaring that artificial intelligence developers can train models using published books without authors' consent, which sets a precedent that training AI systems on copyrighted works constitutes fair use. Basically, the ruling stated that generative AI is transformative enough of those original works that it constitutes fair use. So it's essentially saying that training an AI model on these books is the same thing as a human author reading a bunch of books and getting knowledge or skill set developing through that. Things just got worse for these big companies. OpenAI just launched Sora 2. Essentially, they're getting into social media. This is going to be like a TikTok style app with vertical video, endless scrolling, except the video will be AI generated. So you can insert yourself into different AI scenarios. You can create, I don't even know where all it goes to, but this is the huge thing that I don't understand from a legal standpoint. So according to the Wall Street Journal, by default, the AI-generated videos can include studios' copyrighted characters and IP. Rights holders have to explicitly opt out if they don't want their stuff showing up. Instead of saying, hey, tech companies, this IP is off limits, now studios are going to have to go in and individually create claims for each character of theirs and say, this character cannot be used in this generative AI model. That to me is insane, and I don't know how the law can uphold this. But that's the new one with Sora 2. It's going to be generating a lot of AI videos. So even though we may be fighting a losing battle against these AI companies, at least in my cynical point of view, these huge studios are paying a ton of money to fight this battle. And I do hope we see something come out of the Midjourney lawsuit and others like it that are more in favor of these artists. At the very least, these lawsuits tell you that these companies view their intellectual property as very high value. So my next question is, what about training on people's faces? According to Open Doors, which is the platform used for NIL deals for collegiate athletes, the NIL market is expected to hit $1.67 billion this year, potentially exceeding $2.5 billion in its first year of revenue sharing. That's just talking about name, image, and likeness for our collegiate athletes. What about, let's say, influencer marketing? According to Mordor Intelligence, the influencer marketing market size is estimated at $31 billion in 2025. And we're not even talking about celebrity endorsements from your favorite A-list actors. So to say that name, image, and likeness is a big deal is a massive understatement. But now, hundreds, if not thousands, of actors' faces are being used without consent and without compensation to create these AI-generated synthetic performers. And Tilly Norwood is just the beginning. Now you even have the creator, Aline van der Velden, come and say that Tilly Norwood is indeed not an actress. She's not a replacement for humans. Let's see. To those who have expressed anger over the creation of my AI character, Tilly Norwood, she is not a replacement for a human being, but a creative work, a piece of art. Like many forms of art before her, she sparks conversation, and that in itself shows the power of creativity. I see AI not as a replacement for people, but as a new tool, a new paintbrush. Just as animation, puppetry, or CGI opened fresh possibilities without taking away from live acting, AI offers another way to imagine and build stories. I'm an actor myself, and nothing, certainly not an AI character, can take away the craft or joy of human performance. Creating Tilly has been, for me, an act of imagination and craftsmanship, not unlike drawing a character, writing a role, or shaping a performance. It takes time, skill, and iteration to bring such a character to life. She represents experimentation, not substitution. Much of my work has always been about holding up a mirror to society through satire, and this is no different. Now, I really want to highlight what she says at the end here, because Aline van der Velden is herself an actor and a comedian. And if she says that much of her work has been through satire and holding up a mirror to society, it really brings me back to my point about this being more for publicity than reality. When she mentions CGI, animation, or puppetry, those entities and characters aren't themselves represented by talent agents. You're going to have voiceover actors and puppeteers. The humans are represented by talent agencies. So again, I go back to perhaps this is all part of the publicity stunt and to get her name out there, as well as her business. It's a little difficult to believe the point that she would be doing this as satire to hold up a mirror to society as a warning about AI, because she herself has a business that is promoting these technologies. But I want to turn this back over to you. Would you watch a movie that was starring an AI synthetic performer? Would it feel the same as just watching animation? Do you want to see Tilly Norwood acting with Johnny Depp? Like, do you want actual live actors performing with AI synthetic performers? Does it feel different than CGI? I am curious to hear people's genuine responses about this. And also, do you think we have a potential SAG strike coming in the near future? The current contracts are up again June 2026. So either way, I think there will definitely be a massive AI push from now until then, just to try to get things through before this kind of deadline of us maybe sorting it out. When you look at how slow the court rulings have been and how slow it is to go from contract to contract with SAG-AFTRA versus how quickly AI technology is developing and expanding, I don't know. I think we'll see a lot going on between now and then. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Let's get to know each other, and thanks for watching.